We are going to follow the science to determine, scientifically, if using lockdowns to stop the spread of a viral outbreak was and is the best policy, scientifically speaking. You know, they say the more you repeat the word science, the more it shows that you're actually following it. The science, that is. So, join us as we lock down the science on lockdowns.
We're going to begin here with the outbreak of a mystery virus in China.
Passengers arriving at the Beijing airport met by health officials in hazmat suits.
59 people are believed to have been sickened by the new virus.
At least 4 people have died.
China ordering a quarantine for the entire city of Wuhan.
11 million people cut off from the outside world.
The Chinese government has deployed screening stations to catch the sick.
Fear and panic are spreading almost as quickly as the virus.
Our brains are wired almost to panic in the face of infectious disease. Public health's role is to provide calming influences around that.
Professor J. Bhattacharya.
Dr. J. Bhattacharya.
J. Bhattacharya is a professor of medicine at Stanford University.
When I first heard of the new novel coronavirus, it was out of reports from China in December of 2019.
It's a new type of coronavirus.
A SARS-like virus.
COVID-19.
The virus was first identified at a market in the city of Wuhan last month.
That illegally sold live animals for consumption.
This is ground zero for the illness sparking global unease.
At some point, this virus jumped from animals to humans.
Inside Wuhan, inside one of its makeshift hospitals. Every patient here is suspected of having COVID-19.
Tonight, extreme measures to contain the virus.
Late January, I got an invitation from Bloomberg.
There's been a lot of panic and a lot of focus on very, very high mortality numbers. But the thing to remember about those numbers, it's really uncertain right now. We don't know really the death rate. We don't know fully the recovery rate. And I think this is partly why you're seeing essentially a worldwide panic.
And from the earliest discussion of SARS-CoV-2, there were murmurings of a potential pandemic.
Please welcome Dr. David Katz.
Dr. David Katz.
Dr. David Katz is a board-certified specialist in preventive medicine.
You got your degree at the Yale School of Public Health.
There's a new virus. It's spreading. Nobody's ever had it before. And we found it in somebody who's desperately sick. Therefore, it must be horribly bad. And you always start out with that distortion.
I was really distressed about the discussion around the death rates. I had seen the numbers that the World Health Organization put out.
Globally, about 3.4% of reported COVID-19 cases have died.
And I knew they didn't know that. And the problem was they didn't know how many people had been infected, because nobody had any idea.
Invariably, with any outbreak, you find the more severe cases first and have to go looking for the mild cases.
Chinese health officials say the illness is now spreading across Asia.
A major new outbreak in South Korea, more than 400 cases.
South Korea's COVID-19 outbreak breached an unwanted first on Thursday, with the nation recording its first death from the virus.
The next big infusion of information was courtesy of the Koreans, who did a spectacular job of testing for this virus before anybody else in the world was good at it. And there was a massive divide between severe cases and deaths and total cases.
It was starting to become clear that there were certain groups of people that were really vulnerable. Older people, people with certain chronic conditions. We didn't know the full extent of it. At the same time, there was this sense that we were all potentially vulnerable to this disease. Anyone can get it.
And then the next big wave was in Italy, and that's when we knew it was headed our way.
The first confirmed U.S. case of the contagious coronavirus, now in Washington State.
A Washington State resident fell ill after returning from Wuhan, China.
This is certainly not a moment for panic or high anxiety. It is a moment for vigilance.
I have today declared that the coronavirus presents a public health emergency in the United States.
The thing about this disease is that it has a very wide range of clinical presentations. That for many, many people it presents as just a common cold. And then for a few people, it has this deadly viral pneumonia.
The more vulnerable people wind up in the ICU or dying. And Jay and I and others were seeing that. Lives were at stake.
I didn't know exactly what was necessary at the time. I'd just be clear. There was a lot of uncertainty still even in my mind about how deadly the disease actually was. We needed to do the science to figure that out.